What is up, YouTube? It is your boy, Lavon Kaysen, back at it again with another video. I'm gonna be doing another reaction video because why not? And it's from this guy right here, Dreamcast guy. I talked to a PlayStation 5 beta tester, exclusive info. What exclusive info does Dreamcast has to offer about the PlayStation 5? So, let's see. Let's see if it's actually valid. Let's see if it's actually, useful.
As many of you may have noticed, over the course of the last couple months, I've been making a lot of videos about the PlayStation 5, mostly because, personally, I'm just so hyped for it. I'm constantly curious what the games are going to look like, how expensive the console itself will be, and all sorts of little details like what is the controller going to look like. Well, last night, I was actually contacted by a PlayStation employee who's currently playtesting the PS5, and they revealed a lot of very interesting details to me that I want to actually talk to you about today. What's up, gamers? Dreamcast Guy here, and before we get into this, I want to just say, please consider this all as rumors right now. I was able to confirm this person's identity pretty concretely, and it seems like it's all completely legit, but there are just some things about it that are not 100% right. So just definitely take this with a huge grain of salt and think that maybe this is all crazy misinformation. But some of this stuff actually aligns pretty closely with some other leaks, and to me gets me very, very excited. Now let's start off by talking a little bit about resolution. Now right now a lot of games are basically run at 720p or 1080p, but there has been talk about in the future maybe some consoles being able to actually hit 4K natively, or maybe even 8K natively. Now the reason I talk about this is because higher definition graphics are an interesting idea, but they're something that's definitely part of the future. Right now if you wanted to buy an 8K television, it's thousands and thousands of dollars. They're kind of an impossible idea right now, but they're definitely a part of the plan. Everything is going to end up looking photorealistic. Well, according to my source, some of the games they're testing right now, well, a lot of them are very, very early on, of course. There's not a complete PS5 game, but some of the stuff that they're actually running on there is actually hitting native 8K. This is a very...
Native 8K. Okay.
Very, very big deal. Even if you're one of those gamers that's like, bro, I don't even care about graphics. It's still important because it means it's just basically a display of how strong this hardware actually is. So how are they able to hit this off? Well, it's only on certain games to start with. He was pretty clear to say that it's not going to be like giant open world games. If there's like dragons breathing fire on top of a castle and stuff, that's not going to be 8K. Instead, that stuff will be like a good strong 4K, but other things like racing games or corridor shooters, those things will actually be able to possibly hit 8K natively, and the way this is done is because it has 14 teraflops of CPU power inside it. This is a lot of computing, and to give you a little bit of perspective, keep in mind that the PlayStation 4 Pro has 4.2 teraflops. So this is like 3 times stronger, which is a pretty significant leap. Now, it's not as big as some people may think, simply because remember that the jump from 1080p to 4K is 4 times the resolution. Here's like an infographic to try and display that. It's a pretty big leap, so trying to go from 4K to 8K is another significant gap. This is partially assisted by the fact that the PS5 apparently has 16 gigabytes of RAM inside it. This is again not super shocking and is a good sign though. It's basically saying that this will be a very nice step up from current consoles, but not such a giant leap ahead that the consoles will possibly cost $600. Something that was said again and again during my talks with this person is that cost was definitely on the table. It seems like they're trying to do everything as cheaply as possible, and also it seems like they're trying to cut a lot of special deals with a lot of these companies to make sure when they get the parts, they can get them for just pennies, to try and get them for the lowest cost. That way the console itself isn't going to be like $500 or $800, because let's face it, nobody's buying an $800 PS5. I don't care how good the graphics are. Now, something else is, something I've actually heard about and speculated on in previous videos is the idea of a solid-state drive being inside it, an SSD. Well, this has now been confirmed by my source. But what's funny is that the prototype PS5s, and there's actually multiple versions of it, all of them are running with 256 gigabytes of solid-state memory just to try and save cash right now. Now, when it actually comes out, apparently they're trying to cut deals to make sure that it can have 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes.
I think the PS5 is gonna be $499.99, boy. That's what I think the PS5 is gonna cost.
But the
$500.
they're trying to get the cost as low as possible, and right now the technology for solid-state hard drives is getting easier to create, so by the time this console releases next year, it'll be a much more affordable state. Now let's talk for a second about those multiple prototypes, because this is perhaps where the information gets the most confusing from public notes, other leaks, and what this means right now. So something we've actually seen in the news here and there is the fact that Mark Cerny, he's actually the guy who's the head of the PlayStation 4 development and now the head of the, basically the engineering and development team of the PlayStation 5, Mark Cerny has actually talked about AMD Navi processors, working with Navi architecture. Basically, this is like the style of stuff that's going to be inside the next console. Well, this was not said at all by my source. I heard about things like possibly an AMD Radeon processor. I've heard a lot of stuff about different CPUs and GPUs being put in this, but the main console he was talking to me about actually had NVIDIA tech in it.
Wait a minute.
This is all being based
Hold up.
on hardcore stuff that's
Wait a
on the
minute.
shelves. Now, I'm using the thing based on because nothing in consoles is ever just straight off the store shelves and put in your console. It's always customized.
That's a red flag right there. That is a red flag. I doubt it's going to be using NVIDIA. I doubt it.
Degree. Mostly because they want to try and make it affordable, but also because they want to make sure that every piece of it perfectly integrates together. Well, in this, the NVIDIA tech is actually based on, let me read it off here, the GTX 660.
Wait, what? Hold up. Let's look up the GTX 660. Let's look that up right now. GTX 660. How much is it? How much is the card? 200. What? 6 gigs of GDR5 RAM. What? There's no way. There's no way. Okay, let's go over here. Six gigs of GDR6. 6 gigs of GDR5 RAM. GTX 660 Ti is using 6 gigs of GDR6 RAM. Graphics, video memory. How much is this? How much is this card? $300. Let's look up GTX 660 8K. Let's look up that. Yeah, I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
The 660 technology that's coming out now, that's sort of being talked about, that's what it's in. This is...
I don't believe it's going to be using a NVIDIA card. I really don't. That's what I meant. I think it's going to be using an AMD card. Something from AMD, no doubt. But definitely not NVIDIA. Definitely not NVIDIA. Let's go back to the video.
Strong stuff, but not mind-blowing stuff. Basically, a lot of this tech stuff makes me think that this is going to be a nice leap above, but not crazy impossible. I know a lot of people, when it comes to the next console generation, there's always the talk about how is this going to compare to PC gaming. A lot of times whenever there's like that next huge thing coming over the horizon, a lot of people compare it to current high-end PCs because those are obviously creating the best graphics, the best visuals, the most instantaneous load times. So people are saying, okay, compared to like a $3,000 supercomputer, where does this measure up? And in my opinion, just by looking at a lot of these notes and what my source was telling me, it seems like they are measuring up in an actual practical manner. This is not going to be reinventing the wheel. This is not going to be impossible, freaking crazy graphics that make your eyes bleed, but they are still going to be awesome. So the last two things I really want to hit up here at the end are two other little details that he told me about that I find very, very fascinating, but are obviously less important. So let's start off by talking about the controller itself, because apparently they actually are testing
This video is pretty much fake news, none more, none less.
the PlayStation 5 with what appears to be the actual official PlayStation 5 controller, and funny enough, it looks like this thing. Remember there was this like Astro super controller that came out just a couple months ago in 2019? Well, this is actually apparently basically going to be the PlayStation 5 controller. It's basically the PlayStation 4 controller with just a little bit of extra spark to it, a little bit of extra thickness in certain spots, a little more weight, and a little more customization. So funny enough, this is apparently very, very close to the finalized PlayStation 5 controller. Now, it's probably going to have some tweaks to it, just because PlayStation 5 likes to, or all the PlayStation consoles iterate and iterate and iterate until they come out, or sorry, iterate until they come out. But this is probably 95% of what the finalized controller is going to look like. Now, obviously, if you were crazy enough to buy one of those, they were several $100s, so not a lot of people were able to afford picking it up, myself included. I'm way too broke to have a freaking $200 controller, but I find it interesting that people in general said that it does feel different. It feels like an improvement, and so I'm glad that they're trying to change things up from the DualShock 4 to the DualShock 5, even if it is probably just a couple extra little sensors inside it. Now, the other thing that I perhaps found the most interesting is how they're testing the PlayStation 5. As you heard me mention earlier, there are no PlayStation 5 games. I mean, how are you actually going to test PS5 hardware if you don't have PS5 stuff, right? I mean, there's no PS5 games that are done, or most of them are in pre-alpha stages from what I've heard, so it's not like they're able to, like, pick up a controller and run around in these environments. Well, it sounds like the main thing that they're doing right now is taking, like, the code of PlayStation 4 games and putting it into a PlayStation 5 system, and then using that dev kit to run around and see how it works, how much they can actually improve current experiences. That's why you're seeing things like that video that came out of Spider-Man on PS4 loading in less than a second. This is kind of what they're having to do right now to experiment to make sure that A, all those games will run perfectly, and B, that the PlayStation 5 hardware is a nice leap up. Now, I do want to say all of this is still just a rumor. It is not confirmed, but from what my source was saying, it seems like it is very nice.
Whoever gave you this source must have been trolling you. Nothing more, nothing less. Somebody is trolling you. You must have got trolled and you took it word for word and you thought this is plausible info. And then you decided to, you know, pretty much make a video about it.
Nicely along in the process. Is it really going to be NVIDIA working on this? Is this all just a giant AMD project? I'm hearing so much stuff.
It's pretty much a giant AMD project. Pretty much.
Really, it just gets me hyped for it. If they're actually in the playtesting phase right now and they're actually inside the labs in California really tinkering with stuff, there's a good possibility that we're definitely going to be seeing it relatively soon. I would say that the possibilities of getting an official reveal in the next 2 months is probably 99%, but still, it's hard to say. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming.
Alright, that's it. That's enough of that. I'm not gonna unsubscribe of Dreamcast Guy's channel. I'm not unsubscribing. I'm not. But let's look at the comments. Your source is fake. The person is trolling you. I agree. You seriously trolled my guy. You seriously got trolled, my guy. I'm 99% sure you got trolled. Dude, do better research, please. You got trolled hard. This is fake. Okay, this one's pretty good. Dreamcast Guy, you seen Training Day? There's that famous saying Denzel Washington says in the movie, "It's not what you know, it's what you can prove." You know what I'm trying to say. Oh Lord. A lot of errors with this video. It's gonna be AMD based, people. None more, none less. It's gonna be AMD based. But yeah, I think you got trolled, Dreamcast Guy. To a lot of people, this is cringy. This video right here is cringy to a lot of people. And don't be surprised, Dreamcast Guy, that you lose subscribers. Just don't be surprised that it happened. I mean, look at the like to dislike ratio. It's almost at 1,000, so yeah. Let's look at more comments. Sony already confirmed it's going with AMD. I wonder if he made up these sources. Oh man. Oh man. Why is the title Play PS5? Oh, GTX 6 oh shit. Oh wow. 1660. AK boy, you on drugs. 4K man, okay-ish. Pretty much. It's pretty much. But he got trolled real good. Dreamcast Guy got trolled real good. He tricked you. He tricked you, dog. But anyways, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching my video. What do you guys think of all this? Let me know in the comment section below. See you guys later. Peace, rate, comment, and subscribe.